Hi everybody, my name is Brian Adcock and I am the race director and the founder of Castle Triathlon Series. If you're a duathlete, you should be listening to this briefing. If you're doing any other type of race on the event, then please find your respective brief and listen to that instead, because this will not be relevant to you. So, duathletes, great to be speaking to you over video. Shame it won't be in person, but I will see you all on the day before you set off on your first of two runs. So purpose of today is to just brief you on the routes that you're going to be taking. This briefing does need to be viewed in conjunction with the other video that talks about your arrival and departure from the event. So if you haven't watched it already, then please watch it after this. Otherwise, the whole thing will be a bit of a mystery to you. In terms of how the course and the day has been set up, we are being governed by 5 key principles, which will hopefully keep everybody safe on the day. And those 5 principles are athlete communication and education, of which this is part. Secondly, density reduction out on the course, so effectively a reduce in numbers and numbers spread out during the course of the day. Reducing touch points, so things like cleaning of racking if it's used a second time, and the fact that you can't share kit with anybody else. Not that too many triathletes do share kit anyway, or duathletes for that matter. Fourthly is increased hygiene on the event, and lastly is athlete self-reliance. But because of the day that you guys are racing, and the fact that you're doing a standard distance duathlon will mean that you get well supported out on the course. More of that in a second. So without further ado, I'm just going to talk to you about your first run, which will be a 10K. And I'm going to share my screen with you, so just bear with me while I flash this up. So your 10-kilometer run will start, as I explained on the other briefing notes, down in this corner of the events field. And there'll be a holding area on this thing that looks like a track here, but is actually a tarmac road. And then you'll have a proper archway for the start of your course. You'll be held in the holding area, and as I explained in the other video, you'll be called forward one by one with relatively small gaps in between each of you as you go forward. Your time will not start until you cross over the timing mat on the floor, and your timing device is synced with your name, and that was done as you went through registration. So don't worry about when your time starts and all that sort of stuff, because it's kind of looked after for you. So your first 10K circuit starts down here, and you're going to be following green and yellow signage, and that will take you out around the local area. So in a bit of detail, the first bit of the run is uphill, not too steep, and on a sort of gravelly road planings type road, but not tarmac. When you get to the top of it here, you handrail along Park Wood and actually drop onto a nice grassy path that takes you out to the first feed station. Don't expect you to use the feed station as you go past it for the first time, but just so you know how they're laid out. There will be a team manning each one, but they can't hand you anything because of the no touch policy, but they will prep everything and leave it on tables for you. On the first table, you'll have cups of water, High Five energy source drink, and flat Coca-Cola. And then on the next table, you'll have gels, next table bars, and table after that will be bananas cut into thirds. And there will also be jelly babies, which you can grab in cups. So from there, and there will be rubbish bins on either side of the feed station. So please drop any litter that you've got into those bins. Don't drop it out on the course, because I live locally and I get given a hard time down the pub if people leave lots of litter everywhere. So please don't. So from here, you make your way onto a metalled road, run down past a series of cottages, which are called Thresher's Field, and make your way down to a farm down here called Lock Skinner's Farm. Whereupon you'll turn left on a bridle path and run up through a gorgeous bit of running, about 500, 600 metres long, up until you get to the outskirts of a little hamlet called Hill Hoath. There you'll be turned right onto a pathway, a public footpath that takes you up through a wood, and eventually you'll come up to the first of 2 water stations. Water station is laid out in the following way. They're a bit more than a water station. They've got, again, cups of water, high five energy source drink, and also flat Coca-Cola, and also energy gels. So there should be no excuse for you running out of juice on the way round, as it were. From there, you drop into a bit of private land that we prepare specifically for the triathlon race. If it does happen to be wet over the weekend, this is the bit that is the wettest and muddiest, hence the name of the wood there, sliders. You'll drop downhill here to a stream, and then climb back up out of the wood, and then into a farmer's field, round a lake, and then back into the village or the hamlet of Hill Hoath. From Hill Hoath, you'll turn right. You'll pass a portaloo that's been put out on the course specifically for your use. So please feel free to use it if you need it whilst you're out there. And then you'll run past a series of lakes before turning left up through another farmer's field and up towards the village of Chiddingstone. You'll pass Chiddingstone Rec, which has got a rugby pitch and a cricket pitch just off to your right here, past the vicar's house, and then down onto a metalled road where you'll turn left and head down through the high street of Chiddingstone village. You'll pass a church on your right hand side, a pub on your left hand side, and then right at the end of the high street is a set of wrought iron gates, and those gates you'll go through and into the Chiddingstone Castle estate, which is in this area here. Feed station laid out in exactly the same way as the first feed station. You'll then run past over a bridge, past the front door of the castle, and then out through the castle's main entrance before turning immediately left and running up a metalled road, little lane, for 300 meters before turning right just here opposite the orangery, which is under Marshall Point 15 there, of Chiddingstone Castle. So yeah, the green points are all Marshall points on the ground, so you'll have absolutely no problem finding your way around, and these are backed up by a series of signs that you'll see approximately every 50 to 100 meters on the course, depending on sight lines. So from here, you run down a bridle path through more wood, and then you pop out here into a horse cross-country field with lots of jumps, but no horses in it because they're not going to be jumping on that particular day. And then you run back up to the metal road that you crossed earlier, back past the feed station. So you will in effect pass 3 feed stations on your 10K circuit. And from there, you drop downhill to the lake and where the triathletes will have been swimming in earlier in the day. And then you circumnavigate the lake. You pass a second water station laid out in the same way as the first water station. And then you're basically into the formal gardens of Hever Castle. You pass over a bridge there onto a beautiful island called 16 Acre Island. Second bridge here past the water maze, and then you come into the actual castle area itself here. You run up towards the castle, and then effectively you run around the outside of the moat and alongside the river before coming back into the formal gardens just here, past the moat restaurant, and then up a smally gravelly hill at Marshall Point 28 before effectively coming into the finishing straight of your first lap of your run. You'll pass down here. Make sure you follow the sign that says duathletes straight on. Don't follow the sign to the finish because you'll end up in the finish area and nowhere near your bikes. But you carry on down here, and then you're effectively going to come in through what is bike in this corner of transition. And I'll show you transition in a second. So that's your lap complete, and this is T1. So I'll just swap over maps, so bear with me a second. So when you come into transition, which will look like this, you come in this top corner. The finish area is off to the left-hand side of transition down here. So again, don't follow that sign to the finish, but follow the sign that says duathlete straight on. And that will bring you into where biking and swimming come into transition. You have to follow the arrows. So you effectively run all the way down to this end of transition. It's a bit of a faff, I know, but we need to get a one-way system going in transition so that we don't have people bumping into each other. And then you'll run down the line of racks. You'll know where your bike is because there'll be a letter on the end of each of these racks and a letter on the end of each of these racks. So you run so that you correspond with your letter, and then you run along to where your bike is racked. And when you get there, you transition in the normal way, grab your bike, and then you run with your bike straight on till you hit the end of the racks, and then you'll be turned left, and you have to snake your way along here and out to transition to bike out in this corner. So that's the way the transition works. From there, you'll have a further 80 or so yards where you run down the side of transition till you get to the mount point, which is just about in this location here. where there's a scaffold bridge that the pedestrians use to cross over into the event village, and that's where your mount point will be. Okay, so out onto the cycle. Here's your cycle route. You guys are doing 2 laps of a 20k circuit. The red circuit on this map is the one that you follow. The purple one is for the half iron distance athletes. So make sure that you're following the correct coloured signs and you know where the route split is at this point here. And I'll explain about that in more detail. So that's transition, and you mount your bike just outside transition down here. And then you've got 600 meters on this little road, which is called the Back Drive at Hever Castle, which is quite narrow. It's got some speed bumps on it and also a line of cones down the middle. And as you're leaving the estate, there will be people coming back onto the estate. So please just be mindful of them. It's not neutralized, you can overtake, but please remember your social distancing of 2 meters at all times. When you come out of the estate, effectively at the front entrance of the estate here, it will be a busy area, so you need to keep your wits about you, and you guys are turning immediately left and onto the public road. Just a reminder that the roads are not closed for this event. They are heavily marshalled, and you will get traffic management at certain junctions out on the course. I'll explain that in a second. But at all times, you must stay into the left-hand side of the road unless you're overtaking. And please obey the highway code, goes without saying. And it is a non-drafting race, and so for the standard distance, you must keep 10 meters between each cyclist when you're out on the road. Okay, so you turn immediately left, you go past the church, handrail the Henry VIII pub, and then drop down to Marshall Point 2. This is traffic managed. You've got a left-hand turn. It is quite a busy little junction. Depending on the time of day that you get down there, you will need to keep your wits about you. So traffic management in this instance means that you'll have a guy there in full day glow high vis, and he'll have a stop-go board, which he'll be able to hold traffic with legally, and they have to obey him. And so you should get an unimpeded left turn around that corner. If for whatever reason he's telling you to slow down or even to stop, it's because he's had to hold traffic for a period of time. So please obey his commands. So from number 2, you make your way uphill, up what's called the Uckfield Lane. And when you get to the top of the road here in the village of Mark Beach, there's a pub called the Kentish Horse, where my cricket team drinks, and you are going to turn left at that point there and head off in an easterly direction down here towards Stonewall Park, which is a big house here and a cricket pitch by the same name. This is fairly undulating along here. And just a reminder, when you get to this split point here, you may, because of the half iron distance going off earlier in the day than you guys, you might end up being behind a cyclist who is doing the gauntlet route. And he is going to follow signs that say gauntlet turn right. You're going to follow a sign that says all other routes turn left. Okay, so make sure you know where that is on your course. It's approximately 2k into your ride. Anyway, you've made your way down here towards Stonewall Park. When you get just past the cricket pitch, you're going to make a left-hand turn, and you'll work your way undulating along here until you get to this little arrow here, which is next to a place called Kingdom, which is a local cafe and kind of bar area. But it's also the steepest part of the course, and you're going to come whizzing down here at high speed towards Marshall Point 7. So please keep your wits about you. You've had 1 or 2 nasty crashes there over the years with people going too fast, overtaking in the wrong spot, and so on. We have made it one way for traffic, but there will still be cars on that bit of road with you. Okay, when you get to the bottom of the hill, there is a sharp left-hand turn, and you'll be traffic managed around the corner, but the guys on the gauntlet have right of way at this point. You will be fed into the road by a line of cones that you must stay inside as you go around the corner, but just keep your wits about you. Then from there, you make your way relatively flat along towards the village of Penshurst, where you turn left just by the village hall and the doctor's surgery. You'll carry on past the water station. We'll only have this water station in place if it's an exceptionally hot day. Otherwise, there will be no water out on the course. So we talked about self-reliance in terms of our guiding principles, and this is one of those areas where if it's looking like a hot day or you are particularly thirsty out on the course, then you need to take a couple of bottles with you and probably a couple of gels in your cycle jersey to keep you going, because there'll be nothing here for you unless we decide it's a really hot day and we instigate one. But we don't think it's necessary unless it's hot, and so there won't be one there. So you pass the the lay-by that the water station would be in. You're still in the village of Penshurst at this point, and then you're making your way uphill until you get to Marshall Point 9, where you'll be turned left, you go downhill over the railway, and then you'll be traffic managed at this left-hand junction here. There is a blind summit just off to the right. It's a dangerous bit of road, lots of signage out there, but again, keep your wits about you. You'll be turned left, and then you handrail the railway line all the way along here till you get to the village of Bow Beach, which is my village. And you're going to turn left underneath a railway bridge at this point here. This is red flags, which are basically warning flags for both you and motorists to make sure that you slow down, because it's a narrow bridge. Motorists tend to be in the middle of the road, and cyclists, if you're going too quickly as you come down the hill and turn left underneath the bridge, you too will be in the middle of the road, and then we'll have a nasty accident. So please do not become a statistic here. And when you see those red flags, just be mindful of your speed. From there, you make your way out through the village, and then you've got about 4 kilometres till you get back to the front entrance of the castle. You pass the golf course, and then you climb back up a gentle slope till you get to the front entrance of Hever. You guys are doing 2 laps of the cycle course. Do not come back onto the estate until you've completed your 2nd lap. So just go straight past the front entrance there. There will be signs that say 2nd lap straight on, and also marshals there indicating that you need to go straight on. And then you come past the church, handrail the Henry VIII pub, and then carry on round for your 2nd lap. Exactly the same as you did before, hopefully quicker for your 2nd lap. And then when you get back to the main entrance, this time you turn left and come back down, back drive. Watch out for the speed bumps, the narrowness of the road, and the fact that there will be other cyclists potentially coming in the opposite direction as you come back in. Lines of cones down the middle. Dismount point is not far the other side of the scaffold bridge, and quite close to transition, and then you'll run with your bike back into transition. So that's your cycle. Just going back onto the transition map for a second. So you'll dismount over here, you come back into transition in this direction, still running with your bike here, still running with your bike here, and then you come back up this side, re-rack wherever your rack may be, get your running kit on, and then from here you guys are doing a 4.3 kilometre circuit of the estate. And you basically run this way, exactly the same as you did with your bike earlier, and then round into this corner. This is where run out is, and then again you'll run down the length of Pokeridge Field in this direction. And I'll just drop back onto the Sunday map. So this is you coming out transition in this corner here. You run down the side of Pokeridge Field, and then you basically do exactly the same up until the first feed station, and then at this point here you turn left down the hill. So you're effectively staying on Hever Estate, and you do that same lap that you did before. So you'll pass the feed station there, the water station there, and then you continue on your way over 16 Acre Island, round the back of the castle, up the gravelly hill. And then this time, as you're coming down the finishing straight, you can actually follow the signs that say finish, and then you finish just here to the left-hand side of transition as we look at it. And that's your duathlon. Hopefully that all makes sense. I will, on the day of the race, hold up the signs that you're going to be following as you go round the 2 different courses, and we'll confirm that on the day itself. Thank you very much for listening.